Hello and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins, the Living Order Quilter. And today it's a Q&A about machine quilting. Do you want to go from frustration to fabulous? Let's talk machine quilting. Hello, let's see who's here. Wilda, I miss you. Where have you been? Wilda, welcome. So glad that you're here from Williamsburg. Hello, Jacqueline. Glad that you're here. And I have to apologize. Hopefully, some who were waiting on Facebook realize it's not live and that they'll come here to YouTube. I was checking and for some reason it didn't connect, and I don't know why. There's always some technical challenge. So, anyway, I'm just going to move forward and maybe I'll go live after this on Facebook. Hello, Lori. Aloha. Aloha. And hello, Rochelle. How are you? What have you ladies been up to? What have you been working on? What have you completed? What have you been doing in the last few weeks? So glad that you're here today. And I wanted to share with you the last time we were together my recent trip to see my niece. I am a aunt. I am not a mother, but I have many nieces and nephews and I love them dearly. Now I am a great aunt. They call me Aunt Dina. Aunt Dina. So I got a chance to meet my niece Amanda and her family, two children, a boy and a girl. The girl is the oldest, Araya, and then Avery. Araya is 6. Well, she will be 6. She's 5. And her brother is 3. They are just adorable, adorable, adorable. And I got permission to share a couple of photos. Do you want to see some photos of my great niece and nephew? Hey, Cassie, so glad that you're here. We're just getting started. And I have a couple of stories to share with you. I think just one is very, very funny. One is very, very touching. It's wonderful to be a grandmother, a great aunt, an aunt, all of that. Aunt, hey, Deneen, so glad that you're here. Wonderful, awesome, awesome. So let me share a photo of which one should I do first? Should I tell? I'm going to ask you, do you want to hear the sewing story with Araya, or do you want to hear the Grammy? Grammy, that's what my niece, great niece, and nephew call their grandmother, my sister. They call her Grammy. So do you want to hear the Grammy story or do you want to hear the sewing story? You hear both, but which one first? Which one would you like to hear first? And while you decide, tell it all, says Jacqueline. Doesn't matter, just tell it all. I've been getting ready all week for Paducah. It's just a few days away before I fly out. Cassie says the sewing story. So, my niece has been wanting me to come meet her children and, think about their ages. We were in COVID when she had Avery, and I had planned to visit Araya when she didn't have her brother just as COVID hit. And so I could not go visit, right? So meeting them for the first time was just fabulous, and just to spend time with her and her family. But as aunties do, I thought about all the things that I could bring to impart to them, to share with them. And of course, I'm going to share what? Sewing. So I, years ago, won a sewing machine at a quilt show. And it's a nice, cute, versatile machine, fantastic for beginners. So I packed it up tight. I put it in my suitcase, put clothing all around it, wrapped it in bubble wrap, and it survived the journey to New York. And so I bought a sewing machine. Of course, I bought some fabric. I bought two small little projects to work with her if we had an opportunity, and to also introduce her to the machine. They live in New York, in a suburb of New York City, just outside. She's a school teacher. She teaches at a private school called Hackley, and Hackley's in Tarrytown, New York. She's an amazing mother and teacher. Amanda, she is just amazing. So it was a privilege to watch her be a mom, because I used to babysit her. I used to take care of her and her brother. And just to see her to be a mom, I got a chance to go to her school, to see her classroom, to see Araya's classroom and her cubby, and all the different things that she's doing as a kindergartner, right? So let me show you. So I bought the sewing machine. I told Araya about it. I said, we're going to make a pillow. We're going to make a pillow together. So let me show you. Her mom took some photos while we were sewing, and she is so smart, 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 smart. Here is a photo of the two of us making her pillow. Now, what I love about modern machines is that you can press buttons, right? So she didn't have to use the foot pedal. I showed her how to basically lower the needle, lower the foot by pressing the lever for the foot, and how to press start and how to stop. And then we held the fabric together. And she knows that she can only use the machine with her mom. And so I devised this project that I thought was going to be really fun. I found beautiful iridescent letters, the alphabet, in a fat quarter. So we sewed strips, and she arranged all the strips. These are bias strips for chenille. Yeah, she does look all grown up. She is so smart. She's an avid reader. She's an amazing speller. I tried that adult thing, where you spell a word that you don't want them to hear, and I spelled the word, and she looks at me and she says, "I know what you spelled. I know what you spelled." And so she told me. So I said, that's not going to work for her because she's such a good speller. Yes, passing on the skills. Hello, Elaine. So glad that you're here. Yes, so she and I cut out strips of bias, pre-done chenille strips, and then on her play mat, she laid out all the strips, the design that she wanted, and then I also gave her a small little portable iron. It's one that doesn't get very hot. I showed her how to use it. We used it together, and we ironed the strips on with some double-sided tape, and then we sewed down each of those strips one by one. And then, of course, I did what all aunts do. I sewed the rest of the pillow. She sewed the top. She's a beginner. She was so excited. Yes, very, very special. It'd be wonderful for her to be a part of it. And she was so excited. She says, well, we have to make one for Avery. We need to make one for Avery too. So that was just a neat thing to do with her. But guess what she did for me even before I arrived? That's the wrong one. Let me pull that back. Did I put it up? Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Nope, let me get it. Let's see. You got a sneak peek of Avery. I'll bring that photo back in just a moment, but I want to show you. Where is it? Let's see. Okay. Give me just a quick moment. Okay, there's that. Nope, let me go to this. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Let me hide that one and I'll drag in this one. So when I arrived at their home, she made me this beautiful sign. She painted it and then put welcome Aunt Dina on it. Isn't it precious? Yes. I was so tickled that she made that for my arrival at their home. Just adorable. Then back to the sewing. She finished the pillow. We washed it. It has that nice chenille feel to it. And so this is her with the final pillow. Yes, she is a sweetheart. Hello, Faylin. So glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I know. She's adorable. Now, let me share something else with you. She is learning how to play the piano. And when I was young, I also learned. I did not become a concert pianist like my aunt. My mother's sister became a concert pianist, so much so that she went to Europe to play the piano. And that's where she met her husband, her future husband. But Araya is learning how to play the piano. And so she promised to play for me while I was there. And what she did was she took out her sheet music. She put her hands, her left and right hand in position, and she was reading the music, not even looking at the keys. And she said, I will play for you and then you play for me. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm going to remember. I wasn't very good at reading sheet music because I didn't practice. So this is what happens. I try to remember something like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I'm playing it on the keyboard, and she watches my hand. And she played exactly what I played just by watching me. I couldn't finish the whole thing, and then her mom says, wait a minute, why don't I look up the sheet music? I'll search it up on my phone. She found the sheet music. I held the phone up while she read the sheet music to finish playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. She is just amazing, adorable, sweet, gentle with her brother. And then she says, well, let's play another song. I'll get something easy for you that won't be too hard. And she's like, is that okay? I'm like, sure. So she turns the page and she finds one staff of music just with the right hand. And she says, this is going to be easy for you. It's just one hand. And it was one hand and two notes. She was very kind to me. So just sweet, 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 sweet. It was very special. And so I left enough supplies for her to make a pillow for her brother, Avery. And this is a photo of the two of them together. They are just too cute. Look at Avery. He's adorable. At 3 years old, he is reading. He read me a story. I brought them some books too, and I read with them and at bedtime, and we just had a wonderful time. So here's the second story. You heard the first story, the sewing, the pillow, and just how wonderful that was, and the greeting I got from her with the beautiful hand-painted artwork. Avery, when I arrived, was just at the end of his nap. So my niece said, let's go upstairs and go to Avery. And she wakes him up. And he's still a little groggy, but he's okay. He's slowly waking up. And finally, he looks at me and she says, who's that? Who's that, Avery? And he says, Grammy. He looks at me and he sees my sister. And she says, no, 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 this is Aunt Dina. This isn't Grammy. And he just kind of looks at me and looks at me and say, is that Grammy? Who is that? Right? Now, prior to meeting them for the first time, when I spoke to them on the phone, he would hear my voice and still think I was Grammy. Still thought I was Grammy. I know they are adorable. They are adorable. Precious, precious. So I'm there for a few days and he's still calling me Grammy. Eventually he says, okay, you're Aunt Dina, Aunt Dina, Aunt Dina. So my sister comes a few days later. We all have dinner at her daughter's house. And when my sister arrives, he sees her, then he looks at me. He sees her, then he looks at me. And his dad, I think his dad or his mom said, go say hi to Grammy. But he looks at me to say hi to Grammy. And then my sister is like, wait a minute, I'm Grammy. I'm Grammy. But she says, who am I? Who am I? So he looks at her and he says, Aunt Dina. He calls my sister Aunt Dina. And so my sister is just like, no, I'm Grammy. I'm Grammy. So then he says, okay, you're Grammy. But then he looks at me and he doesn't know what to call me. So it was just kind of funny that he was getting a little confused, and you could see on his face, who are these two ladies? Which one is Grammy and which one is Aunt Dina? So the evening rolls on, right? And my sister's time for her to leave to go back home, and I'm staying at my niece's house, and it's his bedtime. And so his dad says, go say goodnight to Grammy. He walks straight to me. I was tickled. And then my sister says, no, 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 I'm Grammy. I'm Grammy. So he stops. He turns to my sister, walks to her, and of course she's smiling now, and she's like, okay, who am I? Guess what he says? Guess what he says? They are darling. This is the beautiful sister's niece and nephew, great niece and nephew. This is my other sister. This is my other sister. This isn't Cookie's grandbabies. These are her nieces and nephew. Yeah. My niece, her name is Amanda, and these are her children, Araya and Avery. And my niece Amanda is the daughter to my older sister. So it's Penny, Cookie, and Dina. So these are Penny's grandkids. These are Dina's nieces and nephews, and Cookie's nieces and nephews. And Cookie is the beautiful sister quilt. So Avery responds to my sister when she says, who am I? Just before he's going to bed. And this is like hours after the initial who is who thing. He's still confused. He looks at her and he says, Aunt Dina. Yes, that's what he said. So this is one of those stories, that will live on forever in the family archives, where Avery couldn't tell me apart from his Grammy and the reaction that my sister had. And I called her ahead of time. I said, I just want you to know, don't be upset. Avery is calling me Grammy. He might, call me Grammy while you're here. And so he's off to bed, and I say, you know what? Yes, Rochelle, you remember that. There are several Amandas. My mom's first name is Amanda. My middle name is Amanda. And my niece, her first name is Amanda. She was the first granddaughter. And so she was named after her both of her grandmothers, Amanda Marie. Her middle name is after her paternal grandmother. Yes, she was trying to be a part of my family. So I tell my sister just before she leaves, I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it just took me 2 days to dethrone you. 2 days for Avery to drop you like a hot potato and call me Grammy. Hello, Sabrina. Welcome, welcome. So that's my story from visiting family a few weeks ago. It was a fantastic time. Hopefully that was not too long of a story for you, but I just thought it'd be neat to share with you the sewing adventure, Araya's new sewing adventure, and me being an unofficial Grammy. So, what questions do you have for machine quilting? This is a Q&A. Throw your questions in there. Don't forget to put a Q in front of your question so I know that it is, a question about machine quilting. This is a Q&A. Lately, I've been doing a lot of videos encouraging you to learn, practice, and create. 3 things: learn, practice, and create. We talked about that last time. And I'm focused on that because sometimes practice isn't inviting. We just want to get stuff done, right? Sometimes we just want to do it. We don't want to practice, but it's really important to practice. And we talked about different ways in which we can practice so that it's enjoyable, so that it's fun. And you're going to do that right on smaller projects. And every time you make something, what are you going to do? Who remembers? We're going to quilt what we know, right? We're going to quilt what we know. We're going to practice a technique that we're learning, and then we're going to add something new, something small but new. It could be a new tool, it could be a new thread, it could be anything new. So if every time you're working on a project, you're doing something you know, majority of the project is something that you already know. The second thing is that you are incorporating something that you're learning so that you can get better at it. Better and better and better. Then you're going to incorporate something small that is new. Over time, that's going to increase your skills and abilities with your machine, with thread, with everything, right? Quilting, whether it's walking foot, free motion, or ruler quilting, whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe it's even a piecing technique. You're going to get better over time. This will increase your creativity because you're going to have this tool chest of skills and techniques, right? All right, so let me see. Nice stories. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yes, I do rate. I rate as a Grammy. That's so true. Now, the other thing that I've been talking about, and I want to take a quick poll. How many of you have read through your sewing machine manual? You need to know your tools. I want to know, have you read through your sewing machine manual? Okay, so I see some questions in there. A hard one. All right. I just did a test where I pieced diamonds. Turned out okay until I went to quilt it and don't know quite know how to quilt it. Diamonds are 2 inches. I don't quite know how to quilt it. Well, what I do when it comes to how do I quilt something, the first thing I think are my skills. What are the things that I can do? What do I know how to do? Do I know how to use a walking foot? Do I know free motion? Do I know any other technique? Do I know hand quilting? I look at what skills I have. So if it's walking foot quilting, how many different ways do I have experience with walking foot quilting? What designs do I know? And will they work for this project? And if the answer is no, do I want to learn a new design with walking foot on this project? Or do I want to visit a different technique? Do I want to visit free motion quilting? Then I look at what do I know with free motion? How many designs do I have in my library that I know how to stitch? And will it work for this project? So that's the first thing that I do. And then I consider the batting, and then I'll consider how dense I want to quilt it. How much time do I have? Do I need to finish this quickly, or can I spend a lot of time on it? So those are some of the decisions that I would start making to help me narrow my choice on how to quilt it. And if I'm still at a point where I don't know, I will do some research. I will think about the quilt, its purpose. Is there a story behind it? Can you incorporate the story in the quilting? That's something that I would look at. I hope that helps, Lori. Good question. Rochelle says, how do you become more confident? I spend hours in my studio, but share only with my kids because they know me. Hard to share with strangers when they haven't seen my growth. Well, don't be afraid to be you wherever you are, wherever I am. There's always going to be someone who is a beginner, someone who doesn't know as much. There's always going to be someone who knows just as much, and then someone's going to know more. If I think if we always look at ourselves as students of the craft, not an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm still a student of the craft. I've just practiced more. I just experiment more than some. But there are some who are better quilters than I am. They are more creative than I am, but I do not compare myself to them. I just say I'm a student. If I look at myself as always being a student and not an expert, I don't worry about what people say. And then the second thing is quilting, design, fabric, everything is all subjective. We all have different tastes. I might like a certain type of fabric, and I might not like another. I might prefer a certain design. There's some ladies who don't like feathers in their quilts, and others who love feathers. And I say, just quilt what you like. So that is my recommendation. Always think of yourself as a student of the craft who's always learning and growing. It doesn't matter where I am in my journey, whether I'm new, a confident beginner, or advanced quilter, because we're all still learning. Cassie says, I am a manual reader. Thank you for answering that question. Hopefully that helps, Rochelle. I have to say that we do take a risk, Rochelle, when we share our work outside of the circle of people that care about us. And I get all kinds of comments here on social media. And some of them are not good comments. Some of them say say not so nice things about me, about my work. And I'm not going to say it doesn't sting, but when it happens, I have to remember they don't know me. They have a right to their opinion. I don't agree with their opinion, but that is their problem, not mine. So it does take a lot for us to go before the public, knowing that there are going to be some people who will not have the same views, will not like what you make or so, but you have to let that go. It takes a lot to build up that thick skin, so to speak. Uh, I mean, Lori, I've done some Lone Star quilts and diamond quilts. Actually, I'm teaching next month 2 workshops on my half Lone Star, which is actually brand new. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm teaching a half Lone Star at Cottonwood Quilt Shop in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it's a free motion quilting class, and it's all about how to put a design in a Lone Star. It's basically how to take your free motion quilting and how to put it inside a Lone Star. Ah, thank you, Lori. Thank you. It's so interesting that you would bring that up because it's a class that I haven't taught in a long time, but it's a perfect class for those who don't know how to go from practice to a quilt, practicing free motion quilting or other machine quilting techniques. And I basically go through the process of stabilizing, like you've seen in the 10 steps to stress free machine quilting. We talk about batting choices. So, yeah, that's coming up in Virginia in a few weeks. And then I'm going to do it again in Louisiana, same class. Yes, you are. You are. Wonderfully and perfectly made. Yes. Yes. And so Jacqueline says, I love to see others work. And we get inspired by that. If you have not joined us on my Facebook page, I encourage you to do that because a lot of ladies are answering questions that I've been posing about what's the quilt that you made for your bed, what's a quilt that you've given away, and they're sharing photos of their quilts. So, Rochelle, I know that you shared a quilt in there. That's a way for you to start to share your work in small spaces like that. That's a way to get started from being a little bit more confident because if you share under a post in a comment, that's a smaller audience, right? Then you can see responses to it. And I know you have your own Facebook page and people respond to your beautiful quilts there. So you're doing what you need to do to slowly increase your confidence with sharing your work. You have beautiful quilts. And I shared the blog post on the Facebook page that was about you, the student spotlight, and several ladies went over and looked at your work. I don't know if you saw some of the comments. They love your work. So beautiful quilts. And Lori says, we love you too. So any other questions about machine quilting that you have? I was hoping to reach this Q&A with my Facebook page. It has grown substantially, and I'm just kind of frustrated that it didn't go live. I don't know what happened. I'm going to probably go live again because many of the ladies there are new. They're not necessarily here on YouTube, and they've been asking questions about starting with machine quilting or ruler quilting, a lot of beginner questions. And so I thought it would be a good time to answer them live. Let's see. That's what I do. I only share the good stuff too. Yeah, yeah. So, what projects, if you don't have any additional questions, what are you working on? What? It's what? almost end of April. The first quarter of the year is just about complete. What goals in your sewing are you focused on for the rest of the year? Are you meeting those goals? What skills? And those of you who are taking the online courses, don't forget, thank you, Jacqueline. You submitted a new um, assignment, which I was glad to see that you've gone from practice to quilt. You showed some stitching in the quilt, some design work that you're learning and actually putting it in a real quilt. So I'm really excited for you. Excited. Um, what else is going on? Let's see. Maybe I should remind you about some things that are going on with me. Yeah, exactly. Good point. I'm excited. That's how it's supposed to be. So, ladies, follow her example. She's doing that. She's submitting assignments, and she took 2 letters out of her exercises and used them in her quilt to create what looked like to me. What did I call it? Um, what did I call it? Paducah. Yes, Jacqueline. Okay, my mind is going blank here. You added 2 letters, and to me it looked like um, what the quilt was based on. Those center fabric blocks. What was that again? Please remind me. Let's see. I'll go right here to the assignments. And I'll look at it again. Oh, okay. So it was a horse, and she combined 2 letters, and it looked like a lasso. Like you're at a rodeo. Yes. All right, so let me first story talk about Paducah, what's coming up, AQS, American Quilting Society Quilt Show. For those of you who are watching and who are new, I teach ruler quilting and free motion quilting, and at Paducah, I'm teaching several ruler quilting classes. The beginner class is sold out, and it's this one, Power Lines. We use a gentle curve and straight edge ruler to make beautiful designs. And yes, Jacqueline the cowboy quilt. Yes. So I love that design that you stitched around the horse. It looked like a lasso, like a rodeo. Someone was lassoing a steer or something. Yeah, lassos. So the next class is going in circles, and so I'm teaching both on a sit-down long arm and a home machine. This is another great beginner class if you're still considering. Those of you who are watching, maybe the replay, and you are going to Paducah, join me in this beginner class. And then my favorite, which has the lowest enrollment, there's a lot of space left here, is the snowflake template, dots and dashes, making beautiful designs. This is so fun to stitch. This is a sit-down class, and you really have fun with this one. It's so easy to use, and it's pretty much a beginner class. The clamshell is a little bit more in terms of designing. We have a good number of ladies taking this class. We're going to have fun with this one. So that is Paducah, and that's coming up next week. So, Lori, you asked about QuiltCon. I applied to be a teacher at QuiltCon. I was not accepted as a teacher. It's an application process. So I will try again if I'm so inclined. QuiltCon is a lot of work, and I think perhaps I wasn't accepted because I submitted previous classes. I did not create anything new. And it could be that they wanted something new, but I didn't have time to create 5 new classes. It is a tremendous amount of work. It's making designs, working with a graphic artist to replicate those designs in design sheets. It's creating samples for all of the designs. Some of them are 10 to 15 designs for each class. So do the math. It's a lot of work, a lot of upfront work. And I said, you know what? Let's see. Because those classes sold out the last time. And I knew there were some who wanted to take the class and couldn't. So I said, let me see if they will try these again. But they decided not to. And it could be that reason, or it could be they wanted to try some new teachers. Either way, I'm not going to Phoenix, which is okay with me. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, you can still go and take classes with some other other teachers. I hope you still go because there's a lot of great teachers at QuiltCon. They haven't released who the teachers are yet. I'm curious to see who they will be. Um, so, in other news, since we don't have any additional questions, what I'm really enjoying, I'm still testing out, is Studio B. It's the second and fourth Thursday at 8 p.m. Because I am going to be away next week, I did it last night. And so members and subscribers have been watching, looking over my shoulder, and watching how I quilt a big quilt. And this one has really been fun. I really tried some new techniques. And Rochelle, talking about being shy, normally I work in solitude when I'm doing these kinds of things. I don't have people look over my shoulder. So it's been kind of challenging. And so what I've had to do was when I made a mistake, I had to take out thread yesterday. I started stitching and I completely messed up. And so I just said, oh, messed up. I got to start over. So they watched me break thread and with a seam ripper take out some stitching. Yes, Elaine, I wish I was too. But yeah, join me via, social media. So you can come to these sessions. We have conversations, not just about quilting, but just things in general as I'm working. And we get to know each other as I'm working on these projects, and you get little tips and things as I do that. So we're having a good time with it, working on different project techniques within one quilt. So it's been a process. Excuse me. Okay, so that's pretty much what's going on with me. Maybe some of you heard, I know Wilda has, I mentioned it to her, and it looks like it's going to be a go. So I'm under the gun to create new classes again for a cruise, a Caribbean cruise at the end of this year. I've been talking with a travel agency that specifically does quilting cruises, and there's two other ladies going that are going to be teachers. It's the three of us. You may know them. One is Latifa Safir. She is a modern quilter who is a designer of a template called the Clammy, and another one that is called the Hurdy. It's an amazing half rectangle template for making beautiful designs. She's an amazing designer. She'll be one of the teachers. And Guyleen Fitzgerald, she's also a big national educator. So the three of us are teaming up to do a quilting cruise, a 9-day cruise. So I'm going to be very busy creating classes for that. And I'm excited about the opportunity. It's short notice, so we are really having meetings almost every week, trying to iron things out. And this weekend, I'll be working on my 3 classes for the cruise, 2 machine classes and 1 hand class. And ladies, you know I'm not a hand quilter. So I am trying to figure out what that hand project is, and I have a couple of ideas on what that's going to be. Um, so that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that, and um, I'm looking forward to going to Cottonwood next month for the Lone Star and a ruler class. So if you're in Virginia and you want to learn some basic ruler quilting, we're going to do the Going in Circles class at Cottonwood, and it's a beginner class where you learn some beginner techniques with a circle. So it's 2 3-hour classes, free motion quilting and then a ruler quilting, 3 hours at Cottonwood in Charlottesville. Okay. Yes, the cruise is going to be November, and it's 2024. We're still working out all the particulars, um, and that information should come in the next week or so, next week and a half maybe, because we're still ironing out classes and what have you, and trying to make sure that we have, between the 3 of us, that's 9 classes, right? 3 each, that there's enough diversity. And we each have, Guyleen is a very traditional quilter, although she can go modern. And then Latifa is very modern, and then I'm all about machine quilting. So it's a nice, I think, combination between the 3 of us. Yeah. And it's quilting while we are at sea. So when we get to the different destinations, it's all about sightseeing and doing all the things that you do at these different locations. And then when we come back on board, the classes are while we are cruising along to the next destination. Bon voyage, yes. It's going to be an interesting experience. It's really pushing my creativity. Just like you, remember I said I'm no different, Rochelle, that I always see myself as a student. Both of the ladies, I admire them as designers, as business women, as teachers, educators. They both have designed their own tools. And so I count myself very fortunate to collaborate and work with them on this project, this cruise trip, because they have a set of skills that I'm still learning as a teacher. I'm always a student. And so I'm learning more as a teacher how to put together and create classes based on each class that a teacher makes is different. It's different for when it's in person. It's different when it's online. How much you can share. It's different when it's 3 hours as opposed to 6. It's different. And so you have to employ a different set of skills to be able to create something that's interesting, fun, dynamic, and doable within a certain time frame. Oh, Cottonwood is May 11th. It's Saturday, May 11th. It's coming up. It's right around the corner. So it's 9 a.m. for the free motion quilting, and then 1 p.m. for the ruler quilting. 1 to 4 for the ruler quilting, 9 to 12 for the free motion. Yeah, so I am always a student, and I've been excited but yet very nervous because, Rochelle, I'm putting myself out there, right? Remember we talked about that? I'm putting myself out there in a very public way with something I've never done before. So, yeah. Well, ladies, we're almost at the top of the hour, and I've given my coaching encouragement speech about know your machine, right? Learn, practice. And how do we practice? We practice by always stitching what we know, always practicing something we're learning, and then always incorporating something new. So learn, practice, and then create. When we put those two together, learn and practice, our creative wheelhouse, our creativity explodes, because now we have a set of tools and techniques in which to express our creativity. If we only have one tool, it doesn't mean we can't create, but when we have several, we can certainly be more creative, right? You are welcome. Thank you, Lori. Yes. Don't forget, if you are not a subscriber, to subscribe and follow on social media. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed our conversation. And my my storytelling of my visit with my family, that I'm an unofficial official Grammy, and my sewing adventure with my great niece Araya. Isn't she adorable? I can't wait to do another project with Araya. She is just a special little girl who loves learning, loves reading, loves to express herself artistically. Um, I envision and see great things coming for her. Yes, I do, I do, I do. And to my beautiful, beautiful, and handsome nephew, great nephew, Avery, I'll be your Grammy any day. And by the way, his Grammy, my sister, Lillian, we call her Penny, her birthday was a couple of days ago. So happy birthday, sister, big sister. Happy birthday to you. Yes, I love it too. And by the way, if you don't know this and you're new, you can get date night merch. You can get your own drinking cup. See that drinking cup? I actually have some tea in here. You can get a tote bag, and it's right here on the YouTube page. There should be a banner, or Lori can drop the link in, and you can get a sweatshirt or a tote bag. Get your date night sticker. You can also get a sticker. If you haven't already, get your date night merch. All right. Thank you, Lori. Yes, happy belated birthday, Miss Penny. Well, ladies, I'll see you in May, the first Friday in May, and I'm not sure what the conversation is going to be. Maybe I will give a recap of Paducah. Would you like that? Would you like a recap of Paducah? I can make sure I get photos and things like that. That way we can have our own little. Oh, awesome, Cassie. I'm so glad. Yay. All right. All right. I will see you next time for another Quilt Conversations Live. If you are watching the replay and you have questions because you couldn't answer them, because you weren't ask them because you weren't live, you can still ask in the comments. So on any post, on any video, you have questions, feel free to ask, and we'll see you next time for another Quilt Conversations Live. Thank you, Lori. Bye, everyone. See you next time.